Grids is a flexible application which allows you to manipulate a grid of dots to suit your needs. So here I've created a profile and created some grids. So this is how the grids are displayed on the home page. So what we can do here is we can change from dark mode to light mode. My preference is dark mode, so I'm going to keep it at that. So each of these squares is a grid. So let's have a look at one of them. So one of the uses of grids is to create artwork, to entertain yourself. So this is just all the colors that are available in grids. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to create a new grid so you can see what the template looks like. So in the bottom right hand corner, you'll see this button to create a new grid. At the top, we have the title of new grid. So we can change that. I'm just going to call it demo. All right. Now, in order to save your grids, it does not auto-save. I've made that trade-off for performance reasons. So there's in the toolbar down the bottom, right in the middle, there's a save button, which saves. Or if you press the back button, go back to the home page, that will also save the grid. So we're going to go back into that grid. I'm going to show you some of the features. So this is the default template. It's 7 circles across, 7 dots across by 52 long, which is essentially meant to represent 7 days in a week for 52 weeks of a year. So if you click on a dot, it changes color. So at this stage, it cycles through the 6 colors that are available and then back to blank. So on the toolbar down the bottom on the left, we have the color palette. This is where we can choose which colors will be available in this grid. So let's say I want to get rid of yellow, pink, and orange, and we'd just like to have green, red, and blue. So tap once for green, tap twice for red, and tap 3 times for blue with that setup. Now back to the toolbar on the bottom, you'll see this arrow pointing up and down. That's to adjust the magnitude of the axes. So we can adjust the scale of the grid. So by default, it's 7 across along the x-axis and then 52 long along the y-axis. So if we adjust that, let's make it 14 wide. I'll just show you, this can go right down to 1 or up to 260. So the reason I chose 260 here is because 14 would represent the weeks and 260 times 14 would equate to around 70 years. So enough for an average lifetime for most people if you wanted to put a dot for every week in your life. Now let's say, I'll just show you this 14 wide. I wouldn't recommend using that on a mobile device as the dots are quite small. You can hit them, but you have to be a bit more accurate. I'm on a foldable phone at the moment, so I'm just unfolding it to show you they're a bit more accessible. So if you're on a tablet or a foldable phone that can have a wider screen, then 14 across is no problem at all. So I'm just going to fold the phone back. Okay, I'm going to move this back to 7 dots across. All right, as I've already mentioned, the middle button is to save, and the next button is the square button. So all it does is changes the shape from a circle to a square. You can alternate whichever one you prefer. And the last button here is for, say you have about 12 rows, so 12 on the y-axis. You can't really get to these bottom dots very well to press the buttons. So the last button on the toolbar just moves the toolbar up. Tap it again to move it back down. So you move it up, fill in those spots and move it back down. And then the last feature in here is to delete. So in the top right hand corner, we have a trash can. If you tap that and press delete, it deletes that grid and takes you back to the home page. So grids can be used for a number of things. So what I first came up with it for was to track exercise and nutrition. So basically I did have just red and green. So this is an example of exercise where I've had green is aerobic training, red is no exercise, and blue is strength training. So it just tracks throughout the week, each week, what exercise I've done. And other things you can do is a countdown. So if you say you've got a holiday in, what's this, about 10 or so weeks, each day you can just tick off the box. It's just a nice little countdown. and other things you could use it for. So let's make a new grid. So my kids actually really enjoy just the sound of the pop and playing with it to create artwork. It can also be used for simple mathematics. So say we've got 7 by 2. So you can say, what's 7 times 2? How many dots would that be? And they can count them out. So, oh, that's 14 dots. 7 times 2 is 14. So it can be used for educational purposes as well, even though it wasn't designed for that. But mostly it's just around the popping sound and enjoying yourself and entertaining yourself. So you can track pretty much anything you want. It's very flexible, and that's about all there is to grids. So I hope you've got enough information from this video to use it. I think I've covered everything. It's quite a simple app. But thank you for watching and enjoy.